Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 46th KSUG.AI Meetup in Melbourne. Who is here for the first time? Please raise your hand. Ah, there's quite a few of you. No, not you. You're cheating. So welcome. If you are not familiar with the format, so we're just going to start with doing an acknowledgement of the country. So KSUG.AI Australia is respectfully acknowledges the traditional land of the Kulin Nation people. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. So we are a group of enthusiasts around Kubernetes and AI stuff. And we have about 123,000 members in our group. So that's growing. It's growing everywhere in multiple countries. So we have in the UK, in APAC, in Australia, in Sydney, Melbourne, in a couple of other places. So if you want to follow us and have some news from us, I would highly recommend you scan this QR code so you can then have the latest news and sign up, subscribe to this. So Yang Kang, the main organizer, is publishing all the content over here on regular basis. And there's a couple of things that we usually do to save or to promote certifications and saving for those certifications. So that's where you can find all of those information if you want to be certified in different things, mainly Kubernetes. So if you want to do this, go on that page or scan the QR code and you will find all the current vouchers that you can use for the various certification. If you're taking any pictures tonight, scan the QR code here. That's where you can drop your images or your photos, and we will share this with everyone. And please, if you have any pictures, please do not delete all those pictures. That would be nice. And you can view all those pictures at the end of the event. I'll leave you a couple of minutes, and yeah, we'll download the slides for the event that you can then download, and we'll upload and then you can download them. Okay, tonight we have two different topics. Before we go into this, so a bit of an intro for the night. We have a first speaker talking about the past, present, and future of PostgreSQL in Kubernetes. And then we'll have another speaker talking about AgentOps. Now, navigating AI's new frontier with trust and safety. You need to pay attention to the entire night because it's like going back to school. We're going to make a quiz at the end to see who has listened the most. And based on that, there's a couple of swags and giveaway that we will give you. And at the end, we'll just do a group photo for social media. And then that's it, end of the night. So KSUG.AI, our mission is to empower the community to learn faster, certified, smarter, and grow stronger. So we rebranded our name, so we're now the Kube Strongers. Hey. And it's been created by Yang Kang that is not here tonight. Which conference is he tonight?
It's called KubeCon India.
It's in KubeCon India. So you will find it everywhere in the world, but not in this room tonight. This event will not be possible without our volunteers and organizers. There's a couple of them on the screen. And as usual, we are always looking for help and people to help us run those events. So if you are interested, get in touch with us. I think there's a QR code coming after. And this event will not be able to run without our main sponsors, which is CodeCloud. And would like also to thank these two-night events sponsor, which are AWS for sponsoring the room and EDB Postgres AI, for sponsoring the food and some of the drinks. So thanks to our sponsors. There's a couple of vouchers if you're interested. Oh, no, that's the Share the Joy. So if you are certified in Kubernetes, you might have some vouchers to give that you can give to other people. If you want to do this, you can come here, go on this, and you can give your voucher that somebody else can use to get certified and grow the community like this. I'm not sure which this one is, but there's another code that you can use to get 30% off on Cloud Infrastructure Melbourne, which is happening next week. And there's a couple more things happening. I'm sorry, I haven't done this presentation in a while, and it's been just like thrown away last minute, so I'm just improvising. It's not sure if it's as it is. So there's some certification that are 100% free, so you can scan the QR code to get those events. And the astronauts, yeah, usually that's Youngkang which is presenting this.
KSUG.AI, all the links.
Yeah, all the links are there. I'm not going to repeat everything. Yeah. There's some links.
All the links is on the same tree. There is a link tree with all the links. You'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think we've been introducing this all the time. So who hasn't heard about this?
The people who come for
the people who came for the first time. Okay. So yeah, we're trying to create a bit of enthusiasm around AWS and Kubestronauts. If you are certified, then you become a Kubestrong. So you can have your badge from this lovely badge that's been created for us by AI, I guess. And there's a couple of them which are already there, and I'm sure there's probably more, and we haven't updated the slides. Good. So if you are two things, we are always looking up for speakers. So if you have anything interesting to talk about Kubernetes or AI or maybe cloud in general, you can sign to one of these. If you are interested in helping us with running the events, please scan the volunteer QR code. Oh, and again, they're all pointing to the same link tree. So everything is on the link tree. Everything. And if your company is rich enough and want to promote themselves, and you can also sponsor one of the events. You can follow us on all these things. They're all linked to the same link tree. So scan one and you will have access to everything. There you go. I'm done with my intro. We can finally hear from some of our speakers. So please welcome Gabriele Bartolini, who is going to talk about the future of the past, the present, and the future of PostgreSQL on Kubernetes. Please welcome Gabriele Bartolini.
Hi. Thank you, Jan. So how did Postgres went from no way to the way for Kubernetes? Well, what role CloudNativePG played together with DDB in this transition and transformation, and also what the future will be. Okay, so welcome to this Meetup. My name is Gabriele Bartolini, and I'm here to share my story with you about running Postgres in Kubernetes and also the CloudNativePG project. I don't know how many of you know Postgres. Okay, not everyone. Yeah, I was hoping almost everyone would know Postgres, but how many of you have been using Postgres in Kubernetes? Just one. That's good too. How many of you think that it's madness to run Postgres and databases in Kubernetes? Okay. So hopefully by the end of the night, you have an option, okay, and you'll be able to at least evaluate this possibility because I see a lot of potential. Okay. So I've been using Postgres for 25 years. Okay. I was actually, I've been working in Melbourne. I've been studying in Melbourne 2001 at Monash, and then I've been working in IT between 2003 and 2006. And the company I was working for here in Australia was using Postgres at that time as well. Okay? And they hired me because I was good with Postgres. Open source has always been the foundation of my career, just to give you some background. So in the past, I've also been an entrepreneur. So I co-founded a company called Second Quadrant, which was a organization running professional services around Postgres in Europe, which was acquired by EDB in 2020. Okay. And I'm a Postgres contributor. So if you look and search for my name, you see all my contributions to the Postgres project and community, including I'm the founder of Postgres Europe, which is the main association that promotes Postgres in Europe. And I also organized the first Postgres Day in Australia 15 years ago. Okay. I'm a promoter of data on Kubernetes. So I'm an ambassador. So I've been promoting the usage of stateful workloads in Kubernetes. I'm also a DevOps evangelist, and as I always say, DevOps is the reason why I came to Kubernetes, and is the reason that maybe one day will make me go away from Kubernetes. Okay? Always think about the whys more than the technology. And open source, now I'm fully focused on CloudNativePG, but if you know Postgres, a very popular backup and recovery tool on Postgres is called Barman, and I'm one of the creators. So EDB, I'm very happy that EDB is sponsoring this event. I left some speakers at the table, over there, not only about EDB, but also about CloudNativePG. So if you want, you can get them. And EDB is the #1 contributor to Postgres in the history of the project. And we have contributed to pretty much all the enterprise level features that you see in the open source projects. And EDB balances both open source development with proprietary software so that we can sustain to support services and also products, the development of open source software. And we are the creators of CloudNativePG. And in Kubernetes, we are also Kubernetes certified service providers. So we are a recognized organization that can provide services in Kubernetes specifically for Postgres. So the first part of this presentation tonight is about Postgres, about an introduction. So Postgres is, as I was saying, the most famous, most popular database in the world. There was a Stack Overflow survey a few days ago that proved that Postgres is more and more the most popular database used by developers. My favorite reason for that is extensibility. Postgres can be extended, so you can create your own data types, your own functions. And there's some extensions that have made Postgres very popular over time. You can think about PostJS, you can think about timescale, you can think about pgvector in the AI world, where we can transform Postgres in a vector database. When we talk about Postgres in Kubernetes, it is fundamental to understand one important thing. In Kubernetes, we are used to replicate resources on storage through the storage. So disaster recovery is done through the storage. So, for example, we use shared storage that replicates blocks across different nodes or data durability. Okay. In Postgres, we discourage that. Why? Because Postgres has one of the most advanced replication systems that an application that runs in Kubernetes can have. Applications in Kubernetes are called workloads, So the Postgres workloads can rely on the most stable way to transfer data from one node to another, which is the native physical replication system of Postgres. It all started 20 years ago. So it's very stable. It's being used in production by millions of users throughout the years. So we say that if you go, because you want to use Postgres in Kubernetes, don't replicate at the storage thread. Okay. Also, there's two advantages. If you use native replication of Postgres, you can read from replicas, and you can also use synchronous replication at transaction level. So when you do a transaction, database transaction, you do begin, you do all you have to do, and then you can say that I want this transaction to also be stored in another location. Okay, and then you commit, and that Postgres waits for that transaction to be received or written, depending on the level, on another instance. Okay? You cannot do this at storage level. So this is important to understand. This is important to let you know that this is very stable. This feature was introduced almost 16 years ago, and I was really happy to be one of the contributors of this feature. It's called hot standby in Postgres. So this is the possibility to read from the replicas. Right? There's no need to reinvent stuff that's been used for many years. And then when we talk about CloudNativePG, it is important to state that this is a CNCF sandbox project. So it's a project that in January joined the CNCF, so it's owned by the CNCF. EDB donated the project to the CNCF. And it's the first relational database to enter the sandbox, the first ever for Postgres. And you can see some of the key adopters of this solution in production. Our goal is to target the incubation within the next year. If you're not familiar with, sandbox incubation and graduation, this is the definition of the maturity levels of CNCF projects. So the CNCF sandbox is the first one. The incubation is basically defines the early adopters, and then it can cross the chasm and become a widespread solution. And at that point, you become graduated. So the biggest differentiation between sandbox and incubation is the adopters. So what we're trying to do now is to increase the adoption list of CloudNativePG and make sure that other vendors can use it, other end users can use it. And then for graduation, we need more enterprises like EDB to develop the software. Okay. This is an excerpt of the CNCF landscape. Are you familiar with the CNCF landscape? So if you want to look for a project in the CNCF, you go to the CNCF landscape and you see all the projects there. This is just a filter of the projects owned by the CNCF. And you see over there on the right, there's databases, and you only see 5 projects there. CloudNativePG is one of them. Okay. But let's talk about the past. Okay. Are you familiar with KSUG.AI Tower? Do you know KSUG.AI Tower? KSUG.AI Tower is probably the biggest influencer of, in Kubernetes. For many years, he's been saying, and he was right, that he could not run stateful workloads in Kubernetes because it wasn't designed initially to manage stateful workloads like database. Okay. Then, of course, like everything, evolves, matures. So Kubernetes matured to the point that they started to talk about stateful workloads as well, with persistent volume claims and so on, local persistent volumes and so on. The point that 2.5 years ago, Kelsey said, hang on, now things are different. Running databases in Kubernetes is like running them in VMs. Okay. Anyway, because first impressions last, the common perception is still, and tonight is the confirmation, that you cannot run data in Kubernetes. This is why I normally go and talk at meetups like this, is because I want to let people know that this is possible. Then it's your choice. Okay? And it's fair that you deliberately choose not to do it. But this is what creates it. Those impressions what created. They created a typical architecture where you deploy only applications inside Kubernetes, and then you let the database run outside, whether it's a DBaaS like RDS or similar, or you run Postgres in a VM or on their method. Okay, so we're missing opportunities here. So in terms of past, it's also worth mentioning that CloudNativePG is not the first operator. There have been few more operators. There's been Crunchy operator, which was the first. The Zalando operator was the one that blew my mind when I saw it. It was the first time I saw Postgres running in Kubernetes. It was probably 2018. But then in 2019, in April, Kubernetes released support for local persistent volumes. And that's when we started to look at Kubernetes in a different way. To the point that 6 years ago, I started what we call the CloudNative initiative at Second Quadrant. And we started the project that then became CloudNativePG, which was open sourced by DB 3 years ago in 2022. In the span of 2.5 years, it became the most popular Postgres operator by number of stars. But what's more important is that it is the only CNCF project for Postgres. This is what matters. So because I've been going through all these phases, I want to recap with you the evolution of Postgres from the start. So when started to use Postgres, it was difficult to use databases on their method. You would buy a physical server, you would deploy Postgres there. You didn't even have replicas, they didn't exist. Okay, then VMs came out and everyone was laughing, saying, I would never run Postgres in VMs. You might not believe it, but that's the truth. I mean, people were very skeptical about running Postgres in VMs, and we know that now it's the most popular way to run it, okay? Then IS came out, so EC2, the cloud came, so it was easy to buy VMs on demand and scale. You could deploy Postgres there, but it was primarily a day one process. So you could deploy Postgres and that's it. Then you needed to manage Postgres in a immutable and imperative way. Then DBaaS solutions like RDS came out, and that was a game changer. They introduced day two operations. And with day two operations, basically, you were able to manage the whole database, including failover and backups. You didn't have to worry about the day two operations because it was done by the DBaaS. And this is where we are now. We have now the possibility to replicate what DBaaS solutions in the public cloud are doing with Postgres in your own Kubernetes clusters. This is what's happening in the world. And this is your chance to do it, and your opportunity, especially if you're a student, to take. Okay? This is where we are now. This is what we call the cloud neutral Postgres era. And just to let you know about how current it is. This is a survey from the Data on Kubernetes community, and it says that databases are the number one workload for those organizations that think to run data in Kubernetes. Okay? But what does cloud neutral mean? First, it means that you can leverage the portability of Kubernetes also for the database. So it means that you can deploy Postgres in any public cloud and in any private cloud if you want to do on-prem as well. And if you want to do hybrid, you basically use the same technology with minimal changes, and you can deploy on-prem and in public cloud or in multi-cloud. So if you're a business, it's important to have a strategy that works for all the major cloud providers. And this is mostly for in Europe. We see a rise of data sovereignty requirements that are actually fostering more the investment in on-premise data centers again. So we see that many data centers are being built in Europe. Okay, and this is important to consider because the Kubernetes stack allows you to create a portable infrastructure. You can extend day-2 operations to Postgres and implement database as a service, whether they are internal or external, or your end users. Okay? And when we talk about data, one important barrier, and this is again in Europe very popular, is the European Data Act. You need to find ways to take out the data from a solution. Okay, you don't need vendor lock-in. And with CloudNativePG, you can easily move away from even any device or any VMs, bring the data inside, and then at that point easily move it everywhere. And it allows you to take advantage also of bare metal architectures. You can bypass the virtual machine straight and use bare metal even with local storage, and use Postgres to replicate across nodes. This is what we call the cattle versus pets, and we say no herds of elephants. So it's like treating the database a bit specially. Instead of using that, treating that as a pet, it's more like cattle, but it needs to be treated a bit specially. Okay, and that means we need to isolate Postgres workloads on specific nodes. It's not that we recommend. Okay, and then you can free from any vendor lock-in. If you want to read more, there's this article I wrote for the CNCF that explains the cloud neutral concept. This is the opportunity I was talking about bare metal. So think about this. You have the opportunity now to deploy Kubernetes directly on bare metal. Okay. When you do that, especially now that there are increasing costs of VMs, having worker nodes that directly deploy Kubernetes on top removes all this, and you have a better resource usage of resources of your infrastructure, because you are removing a lot of ballast from your infrastructure. All the VMs that you create, you don't need them, because you can immediately install Kubernetes there and let Kubernetes manage the resources on the bare metal machine. But you can also go over and deploy local storage with local NVMEs, and without using shared storage for the database, which costs a lot. Okay. Then you say, what if I use the storage there? There's no problem, because the data is replicated by Postgres. And if you separate, so if you think about herds of elephants instead of cattle, you can make sure that data is not lost. Okay, and by not sharing, for example, resources, but just the network, you can share the network. You can use taints and tolerations to make sure that, and with affinity and data affinity rules, make sure that primary and replicas are in different nodes or availability zones. So CloudNativePG briefly is founded on 4 pillars. First, direct integration with the Kubernetes API server. That's why we say it's a Kubernetes native database. Okay. Second one is entirely declarative. There's declarative configuration, and we follow the convention of a configuration paradigm. So you can specify minimal options and you get the defaults that we have specified. It's been designed for observability. We've got a Prometheus exporter, and now we are actually thinking more and more about also integration now that we are in the CNCF, so that we can push metrics instead of pulling. Okay? And it's secured by default. We pay a lot of attention to security from the moment we write the code down the end of the supply chain. And look at, for example, how the images are built, and you see, all the attention we pay to this method. This is a recap of the main features for the operator. You can take a picture. High availability, of course, is the most important one. There's a feature called automated failover because Postgres has a primary standby architecture. So there's only one primary. If the primary goes down, the operator performs the automated failover for high availability. There's backup, recovery. There's replica clusters that allow us to create clusters in another region, in another Kubernetes cluster, read-only clusters. There's also hibernation and measure upgrades. It's another interesting feature. So if you've got Postgres 13, we support upgrades of Postgres even in place. This is an example of resource. It's called cluster resource. That's the main CRD of the operator. I'm creating here the Clapton server, Clapton cluster, and I have 3 instances, meaning I've got a primary and 2 standby. I request affinity with the node selector to place Postgres on the nodes that have the Postgres label. Or we can do more powerful things here. And I request synchronous replication with a quorum of 1. So if I've got 3 instances, I request that at least one of the 2 replicas has received a transaction before I return control to the application. And then I create 2 volumes, one for the PG data, it's where we put the binary, the data files of Postgres, and one for the write-ahead log, which is the transaction log. Here in this case, I use the default storage class, but you can use different storage classes. And you can also use different volumes for table spaces. Table spaces are a feature of enterprise databases like Postgres. We can have volume where you place indexes or other tables. This is what happens under the hood. Suppose you've got a cluster with 3 availability zones, Kubernetes cluster, 3 availability zones and 3 worker nodes. The operator creates a PVC. So this is another difference between many of the other operators. We don't use stateful sets. We use directly PVC. So we have a custom controller that takes care of PVCs. And we start the pod as a primary. Postgres starts. When it is up, we create a service for the primary. And then we start creating the replica. When the replica is up, we create another service for read-only and also a third one for read operations that points to all of them. If there's a failure on the primary, Kubernetes immediately detects. We've got readiness probes and liveness probes. We basically teach Kubernetes how Postgres works. Okay, that's our vision. Okay, so when the operator detects that, the endpoints are removed from the service, the endpoint of the primary. So there's a promotion. This is promoted and attached directly to the service as the new endpoint for the primary. And if this one comes back, we do everything we need to do. For example, archive the world files that were not transferred. And then we demote that to the replica. And it realigns to the new primary and it starts as a standby. And this is the form of self-healing. So the present is this. So now you have the possibility to implement database as a service using CloudNativePG and Kubernetes. So this is the scenario that you have. So you've got applications in a namespace and the database either in another namespace or in another Kubernetes cluster. And this is not optimal because you'll see the future. But this is already good, and this one basically represents normally Conway's law. Conway's law says that IC infrastructures and IC infrastructure basically assume the same form of the organization. So for example, in this case, you've got a development team and the database team that are pretty siloed. So the idea is that each of them manages different Kubernetes clusters, and they talk through contracts. In this case, is I need a database. Can you provide me a database? And what they do is they provide a connection string. Okay, and they can do it with CloudNativePG. This is the most spread use case. This is what I was talking about before. This is a complex architecture, but this is what you can do. This is a symmetric architecture across two Kubernetes clusters. You've got a primary cluster and a disaster recovery one. And you've got continuous backup in place here. And use the backup as a fallback to create and to fuel the replica of the designated primary in the other region. So if this one goes down, you already have an architecture here that is ready to take over, that not only can start, but already has backup in place. Okay. And CloudNativePG supports declarative demotion of this one and promotion of the other one without having to recall anyone. Okay. It's a bit complex, but I wanted to show you so that you know it's possible. This is another article I wrote for the CNCF about architectures. You're more than welcome to read. So the future is what I call the microservice database. The idea is that application development teams own the database. So if you develop an application, the database is part of your application. The database lives with your application in the same namespace. If you're familiar with team topologies, this one is called streamlined team, okay, or value stream team. Okay, and you've probably heard of the platform engineering team. That's the other team defined in the book. Okay, this is important, and it all comes to this. When we write software, we write it for customers. So the goal is to get to the pipeline immediate feedback about what we do. To get that, we need continuous deployment. We need to develop a feature and make it reach the customer immediately. Deploy times, many times a day. But with CloudNativePG, you've got this opportunity. You develop your application, you write the code for your application and the database. For example, you make changes to the database. Use kind locally to test the application with the database changes. If it works, you submit a pull request, and the orange ones are the DevOps capabilities. So this is called version control. Use version control, use Git. And for example, you've got GitHub. When you issue a pull request, you automatically start this test automation, or you can scan the code, scan the images that you build. And when you've got the images of your application after your changes, you can use Kubernetes again to test in the pipeline that your application works. So there's no variability between what you have here on your laptop and there in the pipeline. So you've got continuous integration. And most importantly, because Postgres supports a feature called transactional DDL, what you can do is make atomic changes. So if you have a migration that does 15 things and the 15th fails, you can roll back all the previous 14 changes. So this is very important because it allows you to basically perform migrations live and on even in production system, knowing that either they will pass or none of them pass. Okay. If they succeed, you manage on main. This is called trunk-based development and continuous delivery. And then based on a release policy, you can then, once you have the container image, deploy that in production or in pre-production and do your test. Okay. The good thing is that you have no variability whatsoever between the three Kubernetes environments. Okay. So this is what I foresee for the future, and what I hope is going to happen in the future, that application developers put the database in their pipelines. And this is very important. You get feedback in industry thanks to this investment. Invest in testing. Automated testing is seen very often as a waste of time. It's not. It's what saves you. Okay, and what gives you speed. So if you solidify your process, you are actually much faster later. Okay. So in terms of roadmap, yeah, our goal now is to target incubation. So we are actually trying to integrate with other CNCF projects. We have also started the Linux Foundation mentorship program, which is happening right now, and I have a slide. And we are trying to work on Postgres 18 support, which will come out in September, October, and make the whole backup story pluggable, so that we don't import a specific product for backups, but we have a plugin interface. And the foreign data wrapper is actually part of the mentorship program happening now, and I'll show you soon. Sorry. This is 127, which will come out next week. There's few interesting features. And the most notable one is the introduction of extensions, dynamic extensions in Postgres. So it's something that required a change in both Postgres and Kubernetes. So what's going to happen is that we can have container images that only include the Postgres extension, and through image volumes that have been introduced in Kubernetes 133, we can add Postgres extensions in an immutable way on the fly, without having to put all the extensions in the base image of Postgres. Okay. This is the mentorship program I was mentioning about. We are mentoring a student right now. She's done a great job, and we're going to merge this feature. This feature will allow us to connect another Postgres or another Oracle server, for example, another database inside the Postgres database as a foreign table, and query that table as if it was inside the operation. Okay, this is a feature that Postgres has had for 15 years. Yeah. And this is actually open for applications. So if you want to participate in one of these projects, one is house testing for CMPG, one is documentation, and one is the CMPGI interface. The CNCF will pay 3 months of your work on this project. Okay? It's similar to the Google Summer of Code. If you want, you can apply. So in conclusion, Postgres was getting popular on bare metal, and then it started another S-curve with when VMs came out. And I believe this is going to happen now with Kubernetes. Postgres can become even more successful thanks to Kubernetes. Remember what I said before about heads of elephant. Postgres can be treated as cattle, it will work, but with stuff like taints and isolation of nodes, you can actually excel. This is something you need to be to keep in mind. Always think about the streamer replication and physical replication method to synchronize the state. So Postgres is the most popular database, and we talked about how databases are now very popular in Kubernetes. CloudNativePG being the most popular operator for Postgres. What you can do now is develop the database as a service thanks to the Kubernetes, Postgres, and CloudNativePG stack. You can reduce, VM license costs with bare metal. And you can also easily move your data from any Postgres in the world, including DBAS, including IDS or Cloud SQL, into CloudNativePG on, for example, EKS. For the future, I call it the microservice database. And final thing, always think about the opportunity for cloud neutrality when you for your business. This is very important. I want to thank the other maintainers and also EDB for donating the IP to the CNCF. It's a very uncommon thing to happen today. So I'm really proud to be part of a company that believes that open source and vendor neutral open source is the way to go. I'm done. I hope I didn't take long. So
Thank you. Do we have a bit of time for questions? Are you ready to?
Questions?
Yeah. Do you have any questions?
What is stateful and stateless means?
okay, yeah, that's so stateless applications are applications that don't store any state, basically. So you can shut them down and they restart. Okay. Stateful applications are the ones that store a state. So a database stores a state. So when you restart the database, you resume from where you were before. So for example, typically an application like a web application is a stateless application. Okay. But it connects to a database. So in this case, you can have, for example, you can scale horizontally your application, that web application based on the actual demand, okay? And they all then connect to a Postgres database that is managed by the operator. And the operator needs to take care of Postgres of the state. So we need to make sure that we don't lose any data. And that's what we call the prime directive of Postgres and CloudNativePG. In this case, not to lose any data. So the good thing, which I didn't mention here, is that with the default setup, you saw the architecture I showed in 2 data centers. You can achieve internally within a data center RTO within a minute. Okay. So normally it's a few seconds. If there's a failover, it takes between 2 and 10 seconds to restart the timer. And RTO is 0. Within a data center. So RTO, are you familiar with RTO and RPO?
Yeah.
Okay. So recovery time objective is the amount of time it takes for a service to be restored after a failure. So in this case, if the database goes down, the primary, Kubernetes is great because it immediately detects the problem. And therefore we can easily react. And the penalty that we pay is that because Postgres is not a multi-master solution, it's primary standby, and it's, in my opinion, still the best way to run databases. Okay, if you consider everything, you can scale vertically and achieve many transactions per second. Okay, I will say this. So because a standby needs to be promoted, your penalty is the time that it takes for Postgres to transition from standby to primary. And that could take a few seconds or even a few minutes if your database was lagging. Okay. So normally it takes between 2 and 10 seconds to restart, but I would say that easily you can achieve 99.999 uptime over a year if you do things properly with this solution within a data center. Then across data centers, you've got RPO of 5 minutes. Which is great out of the box. The maximum amount of data you can lose is 5 minutes with these solutions.
Okay, but since you mentioned Kubernetes is stateless, then like how it gonna be helpful like when we are deploying Postgres in Kubernetes?
No. I didn't say Kubernetes is stateless. Yeah, it's stateless.
Okay.
Kubernetes started as a stateless project. Okay, because initially they could not focus also on the storage. Okay,
Mm.
but then the storage now is very advanced.
Okay.
Okay, there's, for example, the CSI drivers. So there's a container storage interface, which is a standard that allows you to then select the actual storage you want to deploy. So, for example, if you're in the cloud, Amazon has, its own storage class. If you go to another provider, they've got their own. If you're on-prem, you've got your storage class, but they all use a standard interface. Okay, now it's very advanced now, but there are many. The most common way to store storage in Kubernetes is through what is called container storage. Okay, and that basically spread blocks across nodes, so it replicates. Like Ceph, for example, is a very good solution for storing data in Kubernetes that uses, for example, Ceph, which replicates data. Okay, but for Postgres, we suggest not to replicate at the storage level and just use Postgres to replicate data. So this allows you to use even local disk, which was considered an entire pattern until not long ago in Kubernetes. This is important to say that we are actually working with the storage group in Kubernetes. If you follow the Kubernetes storage stuff, you see our names in the white paper. So we work with the CNCF to bring the database use cases inside Kubernetes. So this is all happening. That's why I think it's a good opportunity, especially for the young people like you, to embark on this. Okay, all you need to do is study, and you have a lot of opportunities now because everything is there. And open source has been crucial for me, and I think it's if you know which technologies to learn, it could pay off for you. Okay. Yes.
With the extension feature coming in, so does it mean you can inject or run timescale DB or PostGIS without having to patch your image or this specific image?
So that's a very good question. So what we're trying to do now is put together both the Postgres community and the Kubernetes community, and it's not easy. Because I remember when I went to San Diego in 2019, the first time at KubeCon, they thought we were crazy. You want to bring a database in Kubernetes, you're crazy. And when I spoke to Postgres people, they said, you're crazy, you want to run Postgres in Kubernetes. So nobody, it's really difficult. It's been really difficult to get these two communities understand each other, okay? But this is happening now. And what we're trying to do with the Postgres community as well is to encourage the people that build extensions in Postgres. The way that we now build packages, we say, okay, you've done the work for packages, and take an extra step and please realize that OCI artifacts or images are a way to distribute your software. Okay. So if we go to that point, if I'm the PG vector maintainer, after the RPM package or the Debian package, I can create an image that ships the file in the format required by CloudNativePG and makes them available. So if I want to deploy a cluster of Postgres and it's already running with a minimal image of Postgres, which is very important, this work allows us to run minimal images of Postgres, so they have very few vulnerabilities. Okay, and I can run them, try them, and if that doesn't work, I can remove them. So what we did was we made a change in Postgres to introduce a parameter called extension control path that allows us to add additional paths where to look for extensions. And we are using the image volume feature to mount OCI artifacts as volumes, read-only volumes, inside the container that runs Postgres. So what happens, the operator does the operation, it mounts the image that contains PG vector, and it tells Postgres to look for the to also look into that directory to search for extensions. So if you want to deploy timescale, we hope that there will be a timescale image for CloudNativePG that you can just mount and add to your Postgres configuration. So this way we basically prevent you from building the base image with all the extensions you need. Yeah, so this is pretty much what's happened. And,
Yeah, maybe one more question.
yeah, Thiago, you can
Yeah, we'll be ready there.
get ready while I respond, okay? Yeah.
Why did you create a different volume for? Okay. AgentOps. How quick people can and make new words, right? And but why now and why you need to take care, pay attention for this right now. So today, let me just introduce myself. So who is the first time here or come here for last two events? Probably don't know me. I'm Thiago. I've been with this community for a year and so. And I'm a cloud engineer in the NX and a Kubernetes astronaut. So before we are a Kubernetes user group community, but now we are expanding for AI as well. And I hope everyone knows what is AI, right? Probably not everyone knows what is Kubernetes here, but AI probably it's common sense. And yeah, I'm also a certified AI engineer for Microsoft, if that counts. But don't take my words. I want to share with you everything that I have been done these 2 months on research on regions, because I took a holiday from this community for 2 months. And yeah, let's start. So if you want to scan this QR code, you have access to, oh, sure, where I can put this now. Can you scan this? Yeah, if you want to scan this one, there is this tool called Notebook LM from Google, and I use that to organize all the research for this talk. So you don't need to take really notes for what I'm telling you. You can just go there and get from the source. You can sign it and can go, it's fine, you know, words. That's fine, I'm just. Okay, yeah. The web version is better a little bit than the mobile version, so take for later maybe to access. So you just need to have maybe a Google account. It's free to have. Everyone, later I may come back to this slide. Okay. So the AI next big leap from passive to proactive. Okay, who have heard this term? 2025 is the agent year. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I want to do this a bit more interactive. So if you could please join this pool here, and where it is, share presentation. If you could join here this pool and define one word or 2 words. The screen share is post, by the way.
No words, it's just loading. It's just the
Logging from.
Oh, from here. Okay, thank you. Stop sharing. Why? Left resume. Okay, here. Okay, sorry. Yeah, thank you. Okay, please, if you could join here, I want to understand what come to your mind when you heard this AI agent. Probably you have played with ChatGPT, right? It's not new. They are about to launch the version 5 in 2 days. And thing that is really nice, they just launched the open source model, finally back to open source, the OpenAI. GG jobs. No, don't worry. They need a head count, so
From Coupa learning, yeah. Task goal. Disaster. In a good sense or no? Cool. Which model? Models is important. Human-like interactions. Okay, yeah, this is really good. The future. Yeah, it's now. It's just happened. Okay, why we think about these agents, which is this who is one of the agents, right? Because what happens is with chat box, what happens is you need to start there, you need to open the page, you need to go to the chat, and then it's just waiting, right? It's there, and then you need to type something, and then some response will come. It is impressive. First time that I use OpenAI ChatGPT, and then you keep it there because it is a really nice conversation, right? And then they launched this like research that you can do, or last year they have tool calling that if you are a bit more geeky, you could program, and even today you can go to ChatGPT and add some APIs there. But still, you need to request what you want. And if you don't request good enough, this is what they call prompt engineering, right? If you don't do a good prompt engineering, you don't get what you want. Even if you do, sometimes you don't get what you want because of AI. But yeah, so why AI agents? What is the difference from the chatbot? Let's get back to our presentation here. It's the same. Yeah. So this is the big leap. And what is happening now? Just recently, the US launched this US AI action plan. And what is happening is they want to deregulate all the markets for and not allow states to regulate the AI for 10 years. What this can cause. And this launch of OpenAI open model was not because OpenAI wants to launch an open model. This was on the act as well. The act by the orange guy or the taco guy, he wants to make the US lead the open source models as well. Because of course you have heard about DeepSeek, right? And DeepSeek was one of the open models that that come from China and was dominating. Still a lot of models coming from China. It's really good and was open source, open weights. And then people start using because it is open, right? You don't need to pay anyone to use. Of course, you still need to host the model, but you have this. And then the AU comes with a different approach. As always, they are a little more, right, more control on the regulations. So they want to have a risk-based regulation, focus on ethics and implementation. Have you used Mistral models? Anyone? Yeah, no? Have you heard about Mistral? Okay, yeah. This is another company that is building AI models. And the models is important because the model is the brain. So what is this AI agent? As I was mentioned, they are coming from the reactive to the proactive side. And they are not just from a system, like writing a single function or something, they also can own the entire workflow. So they can implement tests. I don't know, just a little quick question. Who here is a developer or vibe coder somehow? No? No one? One? Two? Okay, yeah, you build it with AI, right? Yeah, so nowadays anyone can build this stuff, but this is what they are calling agent development, right? So you can just give it some prompt and it will develop everything. But this is still just one part, it's just a silos of the agent. What does an agent look like? This is a bit more, that there are different definitions of what is agents. Some definition just give agent as like it's a system prompt plus access to tools and has a bit of autonomy. This is what they define as agent. But the agent, in a sense, a little more broad, will be it has perception that it can detect what is going on, not just Depends on how you put this on edge, but it is a kind of the tools of the agent that they can detect in which environment it is deployed. And another thing that is important for the agents beside the tools and autonomy is the memory. You have to control the long-term memory and the short-term memory. And this field is already is becoming like really important. It's the new thing besides the prompt engineer that you may have heard last year or so recently is the context engineer, because all of these you need to take in account what it is in the context, how you will protect your data, right? You cannot give access to the full database or the data itself, but you still want to process. How can you control not just the data, but the access to the data as well? And the brain of these agents is the LLMs. It's the same models that you are so used to. Okay, ChatGPT, Gemini these days, and the Anthropic, and they come with the models. But this is the models that will be the engine for the agent. Yeah, and it is changing the business, how business operate as well. Not like from today. It's happening for a while. Automation in different ways, but the automation with the LLMs give more flexibility for the business, because it's not just predeterministic function, right? If else, if this happen, then this. It can give a little more nuances for the agent. And then here's some challenges, here's some protocols that I want you to, if you have not heard about it, then maybe it's interesting to know. Two main principle is the MCP. Probably you have heard about MCP these days. It was launched in November last year by Anthropic, and yeah, just become the de facto standard for interacting with tools with the LLMs. Even other, not Anthropic is one of the companies, but other companies already supporting as well. These other tools, the other protocols are some still, how to say, proposal, not really I would say not really adopted by the whole companies, because what happens is there is many frameworks to build agents, and to give these agents a way to connect with them, you need to have some protocol. Sorry, so you have the ACP, the agents protocol, communication protocol, the network protocol, and there is another one that I forgot the acronym now, but was also donated to CNCF. So A2A was built by Google, agents to agent communication protocol that you can put agents to work together. So just to make this a little back to interaction, I have prepared another pool that I would like to ask is, which of the following agent framework have you heard about it? Have you heard about any agent framework to build a framework or to control framework? Cool. Let me just go back to the other one. I needed to start maybe the other pool. Stop the other one. Yeah, start this. Yep. And yeah, we're back. Oh, yeah. So LangChain. LangChain is one of the really popular if you are using with Python. Any other? I don't think it's showing all the screen here. You have so many different. I put I believe 8 or 10 here, but on my last research I got 50 different frameworks to build agents. And what happens when we building with these frameworks? How can you make one agent communicate to another agent? Or if you build an agent, how can you say, oh, you can use my agent? Can someone use your agent? Can you really make your agent part of team of agents? How does this work? I know that if you use AutoGen probably or Crow.ai, you may have some orchestration inside these frameworks that you can build agents and build in there a team of agents. But what happens is these are creates silos, and I believe one thing in tech that we like is standards, right? We like standards because once we have standards, it's make it easier to invest and make it more sense for enterprises to go and say, yeah, these look like standards and look secure enough that we can start using. Oh, yeah, good to know that people heard about this once. Yeah. Strands is quite new, really, released in May from AWS. Small agents is from Hugging Face. Hugging Face is a really nice place if you are into AI. Go check this one. But cool, good to know that this is the tools that people are using. So back to the slides. So AgentOps, why we need AgentOps? Again, there was MLOps. Few still exist MLOps that not MLOps is done. And then people start saying, oh, there is the LLM ops, and then there is the AI ops, and now we have the agent ops. But the agent ops, I believe it will come to stay because first, build your own model is not easy. Build your own model to training and do stuff is quite difficult. But if you have the model and it's just a part of the agent, right? Of course, it's the most important part because it's the brain. Still, you have more adjacent things that you need to take care for the agent to be scaled and to make this autonomous enough and secure enough. And with this come different risks, right? So what is the risk that the agents bring? And of course, with LLM, you already have some risks, but when you have agents in there, that make your life a bit more fun in a sense that you sleep less, maybe, because this is important to toggle, right? How can you deal with the prompt injection or when they have they call tool poisoning for the MCP today? How you can deal with this kind of threats that there was not before, right? But still, most of the things that the agent can interact with is still are things that we already interact with. We have services accounts, we have the APIs. The agents are just giving an autonomy to use that. And that is where you need to keep it the zero trust and really focus on how you are observing, monitoring the agent and what is the tools that you are giving to that. Otherwise, it's just, I heard this, that it's like giving a knife to a toddler. If you give a knife to a toddler and you are not watching and you give a really dangerous knife, not a toy knife. So this is things, right? So this defense in depth, it's more and more important. From the cloud, if you think in cloud, we have this concept of the 4C. In cloud, I believe for agents, we will have for different layers, we will have different ways of dealing with the risks. And this becomes the trust gap, right? How you will trust that the agent is doing what it is doing, and the MCP that you are using are not being attacked or hacked by anyone. This will be the part of this new area that is becoming the agent ops. And one of the tools that I come across, of course, there is many tools. I cannot talk all tools, but Microsoft Purview was really interesting. The way that Microsoft are putting there for giving identity to the agents, identity to the tools. And you can see with the observability for all the using this hotel open telemetry to check where it is going on, for what it is accessing, and back and forth. Okay, what is the impact? And this is the impact in the real world that I believe will change. We have access to so many models today, and the models, even the open source one, is really good. But you can make your own model more specialized and not really focus on what the model can. It is the fine tuning, and the fine tune is quite expensive in a sense. For if you want to do a full fine tune of a, let's get a model that it is big enough, like 8 billion parameters. How you fine tune 8 billion parameters? It's quite expensive. You are almost retraining the whole model. But you can use this new technique that is called LoRa and QLoRa. And this one you can just do and achieve a lot of success with just 1% or less than 1% of the model. And what that means? That means that even if you have a model that is generic, everyone is using, you still can fine tune your agent to be specific for the task that it's doing. And it is not that expensive to do that. And I believe this is what the companies are doing more and more. Of course, if you're using different tools, probably you have heard about the system prompts and people doing jailbreaking the system prompts. But for the agents, make much more sense you not rely just in system prompts, because you are giving more autonomy to that and you want to have more control. And using LoRa and QLoRa make it more affordable. This is like a bit of comparison. It saves up to 75% of GPUs when you are running the inference after and on the training. And when you use QLoRa, you can also reduce the size of the model, the quantization of the model, and make it also easy to you to deploy that. And this is one part of the MLOps, right? The MLOps, when I talk about the MLOps, you need to understand that there is a full life cycle for the agent right now. And this is one of them. And the most of the enterprise is still using the human in the loop because, of course, we need to have an approval process. But without this common language is what making the silos. And I believe these new protocols will give you a way to connect similar to the HTTP for the internet. But at the same time, when you have more things connected, you increase the radial blast, right? If something happens in one agent and that agent's connected to the more other agents, how you can make a cutover from that. So this will be questions that will need to be answered to get to this protocol. And I believe that's why we are trying to find a protocol between agents to make it work. So how this companies is running the array? So how I bring some cases here, is not the full extension, but in some cases like in finance, they are deploying agents. Before you have models that do the fraud detection, but with agents, you can take actions on that. You're not just detecting them. You detect the fraud and you can proactively act on top of that. And MasterCard was on the companies that already saw double digits in fraud detection and correction and take measures to reduce frauds. In the healthcare is another huge place for AI. I'm not sure if you have heard about, probably you know about oh, I forgot the name. DeepMind, exactly, DeepMind. Denis Hassad, he won the Nobel Prize. And one of the models that the DeepMind was released is related to health. They have the GAMA-MED, I believe. The GAMA-MED is really good open source model for image analysis of health. And another huge model that they launched that are being used for the pharmaceuticals today is the AlphaFold 3, that is creating proteins and expeding the research in the health in a scale that will be really impressive. And of course, Amazon here, right? Probably you have seen that you can still believe few months ago, you couldn't ask to deliver on the same day in Australia. But now you can do that the same day, right? How they can do this if they didn't open so much operation? They are just using more and more AI to fix roads and getting this. Yeah, so this is things that are happening and the companies are really using and transform. And you yourself, you can try, you can go there and build one agent for yourself. This is not available in Australia yet, but you can use VPN and access via US. It's called Opal from Google. And like any end that you can create for workflows, you can just give a prompt and it will create for you a workflow using the Gemini models, and it is really powerful. Yeah, so the time for exploring the POCs is over. Now it's really time to take actions, and people are really building this. Are you ready to build? And this is my talk. I hope it was not boring. I didn't have actually much time to prepare this, and everything that I did today was using AI. And I really invite everyone to really use more PCIs, of course, with conscious that it can make mistakes, and it is with great powers come great responsibilities. Be careful with that. Thank you. Okay, guys, now it's time for the quiz. I hope you pay attention. Just
Awesome, thank you, Thiago, and thank you everyone for staying with us till now. So now we're moving on to the license to lead and back. Right away, that is. So now we'll move on to our flagship event that is the lights down. Here is the QR code. Hopefully it doesn't make you excited this time. So just while everyone's finishing up, the swags that we have on offer today are so same as like the previous months. We have 3 Cold Cloud 6 months of subscription, 3 $500 Akamai cloud credits, 3 $99 Akamai exam voucher, and in addition, we have 3 $25 Amazon new developer vouchers up for grabs. So is that everyone? Okay, is everyone else still logging? No, perfect. So we have 10 questions as usual from both our topics. So number 1, who owns CloudNativePG? Easy one to kick off. Never mind. It's tricky because you can't go back. Yes, you want to tap. So yeah, it is the CNCF. Next up, we have what is the default replication method used by CloudNativePG for high availability? one looked a bit more tough, so it was B, PostgreSQL asynchronous streaming replication. These are good questions. Number 3, what happens when the primary PostgreSQL instance in a CloudNativePG cluster fails? So with the cluster shut down, or B, manual intervention, C, standby is automatically done, and or D, a new cluster is automatically created. Right, yeah, C, standby. Number 4, in the CloudNativePG, which custom resource is used to define a PostgreSQL cluster? A, cluster, B, Postgres instance, C, CNPG cluster, or PostgreSQL cluster, or D. Be the shortest answer for this one, then just cluster. And number 5, what storage approach does CloudNativePG use to persist PostgreSQL data? Would be A, stateful sets with PVCs, B, deployment with PVCs, C, custom control managing, or D, object storage volumes. So C for custom controller managing PVCs. Awesome, halfway through, but question 6. What is the fundamental characteristic that distinguishes a proactive AI agent from a reactive chatbot? Let everyone read them. Yep. Number B, the proactive and goal-driven, etc. So, 7, the trust gap in AI agents. Which of the following was mentioned as a specific security risk? A, data overload, B, slows API response times, C, cloud server malfunction, or D, for tool position. Yes. The one I stumbled at, my apologies, but food poisoning. Question 8. What was identified as the main challenge preventing agents built on different frameworks from cooperating, leading to digital silos? A, insufficient processing power in modern computers. B, a lack of common language and standardized protocols. C, intense competition between AI development companies, or the high cost of cloud computing resources. B is correct, and we are 2 questions away. The leader's looking strong. So, which of foreign companies was cited in Agents in Action for using AI agents to double its fraud detection rates? Big names there, but A for Amazon, B for Google, C, MasterCard, D, PepsiCo. And it was MasterCard. And finally, we got ran out down from the leaderboard. 10. What is the primary focus of European Union's AI Act? A. Prioritizing deregulation and speed to achieve national dominance. B. Mandating that all AI agents must be open source. C. A risk-based approach focused on ethics and fundamental rights. D. Government-led development of a single unified AI agent. And C is correct. Thank you everyone for participating. We now go to the leaderboard. Awesome. Congratulations to all, and now we will hand out the prizes for the top participants. Can I please number 1 to defend themselves. Oh, it's number 2. Is that yourself?
No, I'm yeah.
Oh, you're up there. Okay.
I guess we
So
get
much. Yeah, I might just get. Gonna take a photo. I might ask you what prize you want first.
confidence.
Sorry.
Everyone. It's not hanging.
No.
Not like mine.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some just get the details down.
Where should I call?
Oh, I'm
First place, Dan. Congratulations. What would you like in terms of those prices? So we have Akamai Cloud Credits, Akamai Exams, and Code Cloud Access.
Yes, it could be.
Code Cloud Access?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In addition, there is.
There's no.
And there's something else.
Is the Amazon with that 25.
I'm just curious, like maybe I mean.
And you will need to fill in one form. It's easier for us to track who we send the.
This then if I read it on my user instantly when it comes up. Like I need to just the play.
Yeah.
And the last 6 months.
Yes.
I guess that's some motivation to do it. Yeah. It was cool.
But you already have one company.
No, I don't.
Cool. Thanks. Congratulations. Okay, in second photo. Come.
Yeah.
Picture.
I want him to be young Ken when he's not around.
2, 1. Awesome. Thanks, Jan. In second place, we have RKS, Rob. I knew that was you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What are you after? Go Cloud?
Yeah, I keep letting go.
Yeah, go and research.
I don't feel it.
Yeah, this week.
Just
Next.
yeah, put your face
In
right
third
there.
place, we have Rohan Singh.
I work for
About
EDB, so just leave it. As in, I work for EDB, so I should have got the first few questions right. Don't worry about it.
What's that?
Yeah.
You sure don't want to $25?
No, it's all good, appreciate it.
Thank you.
I've cheated by working for EDB.
By knowing the question beforehand.
I know the question though.
Oh, no, that's
I got the
not.
EDB ones wrong. He must be, yeah, he must be.
You know.
In fourth place, we have Sagar. Where is Sagar? You want to take his place? Or are you on the list? Right, sorry, if you leave, you lose. In fifth place, we have Mo. I think Mo, you are online. I'll try to put the speaker on.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, congratulations.
Okay, thanks.
What would you like to get?
Is the Code Cloud still available?
Yeah, this is the third one.
Okay, then Code Cloud. Thanks.
Okay, I'll send you the link on the chat.
Thanks.
In sixth place, we have Dave P. Hi, congratulations, Dave.
I'll go guess we're out of Cold Cloud.
Yeah, we are on Code Cloud.
Akamai.
Akamai, which one? The
500 cloud credits. Top one.
Good. You can come for the picture. Picture first.
Pictures of address that.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In seventh place, Sai. Where is Sai? Hey, congratulations.
Email.
What are you after?
Just give it to someone.
Okay.
Thank you.
In eighth place, we have Ash. Congratulations. What would you like to get?
Yes.
The Q developer voucher? Okay. If you can come at the front to sign up and register. And yeah, let's take a photo as well.
Not very.
But it says Meetup at HYD.com.
And in ninth place, we have Melon.
What do you want to do?
Where is Melon? Not here. And in 10th place, we have Krish. Where's Krish? Yeah, you're on the list. Congratulations. What would you like?
Akamai Cloud Credits.
Yeah, can I talk to you? Come at the front, take a picture.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. I'm sorry.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you. If you can talk to your staff to get your details. And I think we have one Akamai Cloud and some exams. All right, and let's stop at 11 or 12, and we'll have D. Where is D? No D. In 12th place. Now, there's no D. And Zaino, where is Zaino?
Sorry.
No Zaino? Well, that's it. That's the end of tonight. If you can all just come at the front, we're going to take one group photo. That would be great. And then we can look a bit outside. But yeah, that's almost the end of tonight. Thank you. Please come at the front. We can take a picture. Come. Don't be shy. I guess we need to be closer or come closer.
Yes, it will. Awesome. You still branch in it? Yes. Yeah, we run my branch. We like to do. That's good. Was that still on the right program? Yeah. Yeah. Ready? 3, 2, 1. One more.